Positive reinforcement. It is the most powerful tool we have. With it, we can change the world. In part one of this series, we talked about what positive reinforcement is and how it can impact all areas of our life, professional, personal, and social. Well, in this part, we are going to focus on how to maximize the impact of positive reinforcement by ensuring that we're using it well. There is a power here that can be nurtured and enhanced to increase its impact, or it can be misused and ineffective. Remember, positive reinforcement is a reward that encourages the repetition of a behavior. Positive reinforcement, a behavior occurs, something good happens because of it, and the behavior is more likely to occur again. In part one, I talked about positive reinforcement that can be extrinsic and tangible, or intrinsic and intangible. Today we're going to focus on praise as a form of positive reinforcement and discuss its power when it's done well. So let's focus on how to make it most effective. The power of positive reinforcement is clearly explained in the last blog and video post, The Power of Positive Reinforcement. But to intensify that power and increase the likelihood that desired behaviors are repeated, we need to avoid certain pitfalls. Praise gets an increase in positive behaviors. The second word in that sentence, gets, represents an acronym to help us remember the 4 keys to using positive reinforcement in praise. Starting with the G in gets, genuine. Praise that is genuine is not overused or insincere. We want to avoid overuse and remain sincere. Moving to the E in gets, earned. Praise that is earned is not false, but accurate. We want to avoid false praise. Now for the T in gets, targeted. Praise that is targeted is not reinforcing the wrong thing. We want to avoid inadvertently reinforcing the wrong thing, but explicitly stating what we are praising. Lastly, the S in gets, specific. Praise that is specific is not generalized or vague. We want to avoid generalized praise by being specific. Praise gets an increase in positive behaviors. Praise that is genuine, earned, targeted, and specific stimulates an increase in positive behaviors. And this concept is pervasive. It applies to positive reinforcement in professional, personal, and social lives. So let's dig a little deeper into each of these elements of gets so that you can apply them to your conversations with others and amplify the power of positive reinforcement. Praise that is not genuine is insincere. When we overpraise people, we give the impression that we are phony or disingenuous. It becomes meaningless and it loses its power. Others become immune to it. When we praise every little thing being done, the praise becomes meaningless. They've heard it so many times that it loses its power. A child getting candy or time on electronics every day doesn't see it as a reward, but as an entitlement. When praise is given too lavishly or when not really earned, the lesson is distorted. Teenagers who are lavished with praise incessantly grow to ignore it, and the power of it is diminished. A subordinate in the workplace who is praised constantly for every little task completed, no matter how small or simple, starts to feel inadequate and question why the boss doesn't know that praise for small, simple tasks is neither necessary nor desired. However, genuine praise is real and true. It is authentic and sincere. We can grow and learn from receiving praise or feedback that is real, true, authentic, and sincere. Genuine feedback is valued and appreciated by the receiver, which translates into personal pride. Genuine praise also facilitates reflection and growth. Authenticity is magnetic. When we are genuine, Others are drawn to us. They like the way being around us makes them feel inside. What power there is in positive reinforcement that is genuine. Praise gets increased positive behaviors. Genuine, earned. Another note about using praise well is represented by the E in gets, earned. Not largely different from genuine, but the focus here is on not giving false praise. False praise is giving accolades when the receivers know they didn't really earn them. It really has no meaning or power. The valuable praise that people hold on to and strive to hear again is the praise that we know is earned. When the sports coach gives out praise on a limited basis, but is specific and sincere, student athletes know that it must truly be earned. They listen for it and hang on to it. They remember it and they feel good about earning it. They hungrily want more, and they will strive to perform in a way that will earn it again. It's futile to tell others that they did a great job when they are personally lamenting not reaching the goal they had set. They know they didn't accomplish it. They're upset for not reaching their own goal. They don't feel good about it. They're disappointed, frustrated, or just plain sad. So hearing others say they did great does not suffice. It goes in one ear and out the other, and most importantly, it robs them of the growth opportunities presented by obstacles and disappointments. Instead, we should embrace this as a learning opportunity. Help them to dig deeper and work through it. Of course, at first, we console and empathize. Then we outline what specifically went well, own it, and celebrate it. But we also discuss what could be done differently next time to yield the desired result. Encourage others to translate the disappointment and frustration to motivation. By doing this, we are teaching others how to cope with disappointment, frustration, and perceived failure throughout their lives and how to overcome them. We are teaching resilience and hope, vital traits of our future leaders. Some kids despise false praise. They simply won't accept praise that they do not think they've earned. In my house, it is not appreciated when praise is given when he or she does not feel it's deserved. They perceive it as absolutely false, and it's infuriating to them. I cannot tell my kids they performed well when they got a B on an assignment. I may think they did, but they don't. They flat out don't believe me. If it was that good, Mom, I'd have gotten an A. It only causes anger when praise is given after a sports match or a musical competition. If the team or the individual lost what they were trying to attain, lost the game, lost the prize of being the best French horn player, if the top music evaluation wasn't received, they know it wasn't as good as it could have been or to the level they wanted it to be. I cannot change their emotional reaction, but I can help them deal with those feelings constructively and use those obstacles as learning opportunities, more essential traits for the leaders we need in the future. In the workplace, praise given when it is not earned in the eyes of the receiver can cause embarrassment and resentment or have the reverse effect on the behavior. We must encourage others to accept credit for the things done well, while at the same time, to identify what could have been done differently or should be done differently next time. You did very thorough research and had a lot to say. Your end product was colorful and neat, but perhaps if we had started earlier, we could have had more time to proofread with greater detail or done the project in pencil before marker to ensure good spacing and alignment, as an example. So discuss the events. What went well? Let's own it. Be proud of it, celebrate it, and certainly try to replicate it. But at the same time, what could have been done differently or better? Let's make plans to improve in those ways. Ensure that your comments to others are earned. This increases the value and thereby the overall impact of the feedback to the receiver. The value and power in earned positive reinforcement and praise is exponential. Reinforcement and praise are powerful tools, but only when used appropriately. They become absolutely benign when overused or misused. Authentic and legitimate feedback harnesses the power of positive reinforcement. Praise gets increased positive behaviors. Genuine, earned, targeted. The T in gets is targeted. Positive reinforcement works beautifully, but it can be accidentally used to reinforce a negative behavior. Basics around behavior modification tell us that the behaviors that are reinforced are the ones that are repeated. In fact, it can be stated even more firmly. No behavior is repeated that is not reinforced. Reinforcement is a very powerful tool that, when employed wisely, can have a great impact on the development and psyche of an individual. Conversely, as such a powerful tool, when misused, reinforcement can also have a marked negative impact. Positive reinforcement that is not targeted can inadvertently reinforce the wrong thing. When attempting to modify a behavior, we must make sure that we are reinforcing the right thing. For example, a young student is struggling to read. So every time this content is approached in the classroom, the student begins to get fidgety, talk without permission, take actions that are distracting for others in the classroom, and make choices that force the teacher to respond. Some teachers will send the student out of the classroom, to a cool down spot, to a timeout spot, or simply to the front office. Sometimes disruptive students are even sent home. So the student gets out of doing what he or she perceived as difficult, leaves the classroom, and does not receive the quality and reading instruction that they needed. Therefore, they're causing this student to miss out on the very assistance and support that will help improve the reading skills and the behavior choices. While the teacher may have been trying to give consequences to the student for making poor choices in effort to teach more appropriate classroom behaviors and to preserve the sanctity of the learning environment, absolutely. But this is not what occurs. In this case, the student's misbehavior is actually what is being reinforced. The student is struggling academically, doesn't want to be in the classroom. The misbehavior causes him to be removed. Therefore, whenever the student does not want to work on what is difficult, he or she acts out in ways that will result in removal. Removing this student from the classroom to a place where quality instruction is not occurring actually reinforces the negative behavior. After all, those behaviors got the student what he or she wanted. So what do you think the student's going to do next time? Certainly they're not going to persevere, but instead act out to get out of doing what he or she did not want to do. Other examples. We punish a child for hitting another child by spanking. So the child learns children can't hit, but adults can, or it's okay to hit sometimes. Example 2. We give consequences to a youth who is using the scissors to cut his clothes by removing him from the art center for a week. So the youth learns that art as a broader discipline is not as important, for the reading, writing, and math centers would rarely be restricted for a whole week. Moreover, he or she does not have the opportunity to explore other art forms, media, or ways it brings joy. And he or she does not learn the proper use of scissors. Example 3. We scold a youngster for not picking up his or her toys by throwing the toys around the room and yelling. So the youngster learns that this is how toys are treated, and that this is how anger is processed. Example 4. A toddler throws a tantrum because he or she doesn't want to go to a certain location, and we end up not going. So the toddler learns that throwing a tantrum gets him or her what they wanted. Example 5, I think of too. We respond to a teacher's snide remark with anger, sarcasm, or an equally inflammatory retort. The teenager learns this kind of communication is okay when you're frustrated, angry, or hurt. And this discussion usually escalates rather than de-escalates. Another example. We respond to our significant other that nothing is wrong when asked, but then later we complain that things are not discussed. The dichotomy and resulting confusion only hamper future communication and actually reinforce the significant other to not inquire about things in the future because it ultimately caused so much strife. A slightly different response, such as, yeah, maybe, we probably do need to talk later, is more likely to reinforce the desired behavior, the inquiry, and the underlying feelings of caring, and increases the likelihood that it will be repeated in the future. Mixed messages we send sometimes. Reinforcing the wrong thing is easier to do than one might believe. This is a very common topic when I'm working with teams of educators who are trying to create a plan for a specific student to see more success, either academically or behaviorally. We set goals and build in consequences as well as rewards. But follow-up questions always are asked, like, what exactly is being reinforced by this reward? What message are we sending with this action? Are we actually reinforcing the specific behavior that we want repeated? I ask the same questions at home as well, as I strive to parent our children well. I think the best way to think about targeting behaviors is to think about this. No behavior is repeated that is not reinforced. So if your child, family member, significant other, coworker, or friend are repeating a negative behavior, ask yourself, what is reinforcing it? Something is, or it wouldn't be repeated. A person may despise his or her job, but a paycheck is earned and the money is enjoyed and needed, so the reinforcement for the behavior is compensation. An addict is repeating drug and alcohol use because that behavior is reinforced, either by escape, sense of belonging, or another factor. But every behavior, good or bad, that is repeated is reinforced by something. Giving praise or rewards for a targeted behavior helps us to avoid reinforcing the wrong thing. When giving feedback, state specifically what behavior or action you're referring to. Leave no space for misunderstanding, misinterpretation, drawing conclusions, or inferencing. Provide vivid clarity. Targeted feedback stimulates positive growth. A person understands the expectation and can better demonstrate that expectation when positive reinforcement is targeted. Praise gets increased positive behaviors. Genuine, earned, targeted, and specific. The S in gets means specific praise, not generalized or vague. When praise is too general or vague, the receiver does not know what exact behavior earned that praise. So how can they be expected to repeat it? Examples of generalized praise are good job or way to go, with no attachment to a specific action. There are times this is appropriate, but overused, it's ineffective. The receiver really doesn't know what exact behavior earned that praise. We must tell others explicitly what is done well for the specific behavior to be repeated. Tell others explicitly what is done well and ensure that it is repeated. To a toddler, I like how you're coloring on the paper. While this may feel juvenile to say, for someone this age, it is perfectly logical. Last time he or she got the crayons taken away for coloring on the table. This time he or she received kind words and a smile or a pat on the back. It was a positive reward. The toddler knows exactly what behavior earned the praise. There is no question. He or she was coloring on the paper. So what behavior is most likely to be repeated? To a youth, thank you for hanging up your coat. Again, it may seem a minor thing to praise something that should be done anyway, but this is an ongoing battle to hang up the coat or some other menial chore, and he or she actually did it. Usually there's an argument, nagging, or at least a firm reminder. This time, there was praise, and it felt good. The youth knows exactly what caused the positive behavior. Hanging up the coat. So what behavior is more likely to be repeated? To a teenager, I appreciate you being on time tonight. Absolutely a standard expectation and should always be met. But does that mean the effort should be taken for granted? There probably have been at least some occasions where there was tardiness on curfew, and those times often result in a harsher exchange of words upon arrival and a less enjoyable conversation afterwards. This time, though, there was praise. And the discussion that followed was much more open and friendly because it was not, "Hi, you're home, how was your night?" It was, "I appreciate you being on time. Thanks. How was your evening?" The teenager can feel noticed, valued, and appreciated for the effort. Furthermore, they know precisely why. Curfew was maintained. So is it more likely the desired behavior will be repeated? To a significant other, "Thanks for calling to tell me you're going to be late tonight." Sometimes there is a call and sometimes there isn't. Sometimes it's a big deal and sometimes it's not. Regardless, he or she did call this time, and it is noticed and appreciated. So why not thank him or her? If this behavior is preferred, it should be praised when it is displayed. When it's made clear what specific behavior is appreciated, it is more likely to happen again in the future. Specific praise is powerful in changing behaviors. If people are left to figure out for themselves what they did today to earn that praise, they may very easily come to the wrong conclusion and replicate the wrong behavior, or just ignore the praise because they had no idea what to attach to it. Thus, the praise is worthless. Give them help. Use praise to guide them. Praise gets an increase in positive behaviors. Praise that is genuine, earned, targeted, and specific will cause the receiver to want to repeat those behaviors. I didn't talk about the timing of praise. I did not include this factor in the acronym because it's not required for success. However, it is easier for the sender or the giver to provide genuine and earned praise that is targeted and specific when it occurs directly after the positive behavior. It is easier for the receiver to connect the praise to the correct behavior when it occurs directly after the positive behavior. Now, adaptive behavior analysis, methods that are used to modify behavior, they focus on specific praise immediately following the action taken to deserve it, so that the child does connect the behavior with the reward. I am trained in ABA, and I've employed it and learned from it. It's a valuable tool in education. However, praise received after an extended period is not futile by any means, as long as it follows the GETS acronym. If it's genuine, earned, targeted, and specific, the time in between the behavior and the positive reinforcement is less impacting. The sincerity behind the positive reinforcement is integral, and the balance of praise with constructive criticism is equally vital. False praise or insincere praise that the receiver knows wasn't truly earned is quickly dismissed. The complete absence of praise or acknowledgement is highly discouraged, and then continual lavish praise becomes meaningless. The way positive reinforcement is carried out is more important than the amount. Praise gets an increase in positive behaviors. That is the way to do it well. When done well, praise as a form of positive reinforcement can be a very powerful tool. People are more likely to give praise to others knowing how it feels to receive it. People are more likely to work hard to earn it again. The power of positive reinforcement. Praise others, focus on their strengths, tell them what you believe they can do, then watch how quickly they reach their full potential. The goals of positive reinforcement are to reinforce specific behaviors for replication and to facilitate strong feelings of self-worth in the individual receiving it. If praise does not meet the keys found in the GETS acronym, then the goal, repetition of a desired behavior, has a lower likelihood of being accomplished. This is true for all ages of humans in all environments, at home, at school, or in the workplace. Praise gets an increase in positive behaviors. When praise is genuine, earned, targeted, and specific, respect, honesty, trust, and loyalty are built. These are the ripple effects of positive reinforcement. Is this not what we want from every relationship we have? Of course it is. One way to get there: positive reinforcement. Personally, I have to admit I am guilty of some of the things discussed today. I am certainly not perfect. I understand and empathize with heat of the moment, utter frustration, and sheer anger. I have Irish triplets, and we've survived some pretty scary times. I certainly have made my share of mistakes and done or said things that I wish I hadn't. But thanks to my background and my commitment to objective reflection and lifelong learning, I am confident in my intuition with youngsters and my knowledge surrounding motivation and how people learn. So I strive for what my head and gut say is right. I work to do the right thing every day. I have a blog about that too. But because I am human and have to continually focus on responding, not reacting, another blog, all I have to do is commit to doing my best, following through each day and learning from the days when I mistakenly don't. For my goal remains to nurture our youth, raise, educate, support, prepare them to be the best they can be for themselves, this world, and the future. This is why positive reinforcement, this is how positive reinforcement can change the world. It affects everyone. Its power is not limited to schools, parents, or families. It affects every single person you see throughout the day. Dr. Travis Bradberry is a best-selling author of Emotional Intelligence Habits, and he has recently published the 10 Unmistakable Habits of Irresistible People. They focus on people more than anything else. They're authentic. They find reasons to love life. They treat everyone with respect and integrity. They have integrity. They don't try too hard. It's not about them. And they smile. 7 out of 10 of these habits are the most irresistible people are related to the topics I am sharing today. Focusing on others to find things to praise with positive reinforcement. Giving authentic praise. Looking for things to praise helps you find reasons to love life. By giving positive reinforcement, we are showing respect. Having integrity, focusing on others, and smiling, those are other forms of positive reinforcement. So even if you don't want to change the world with me, do you want to be an irresistible person? Giving positive reinforcement is a way to do just that. If you do not want to change the world with me, then realize that by joining me in this movement for hope, by using positive reinforcement, you are becoming an irresistible person. So let us all dedicate ourselves to looking for opportunities to give positive reinforcement that is specific and genuine. Let us strive to change the lives and attitudes of our youth, our families, and our coworkers. Let us start a movement to change the world, a movement of hope, powered by positive reinforcement. Don't believe me? Skeptical? No problem. Try your own experiment. Make an effort to give more positive reinforcement for one day and honestly reflect on the impact of your words or actions. See if you see, feel, or hear a difference. Don't believe me blindly. Test it yourself. If I want people of the world to be nicer to each other, to be more compassionate, to breed positive feelings rather than negative ones, to show restraint, patience, and compromise, then I have to model these things. One way I model my mission is to use positive reinforcement. I want the world to be a happier, more compassionate, optimistic, and caring place. I believe that increasing the use of positive reinforcement and praise is a major change lever for the world. If I want change, I must be the change. So I am on the hope bandwagon, and I hope you will join me. The exponential impact of my efforts are good, but add in your efforts too, and we have more than doubled the impact. It is in this way that I believe we can change the world.